How you doing today? It's so good to have you here with me today. You know, people say that, and they say that they enjoy you and it's good to see you and that kind of stuff. But I think maybe not all the time they mean that. But I really mean that. It's just so nice to have you here with me and to be able to talk to you about the Lord. There's an old saying, am I too heavenly minded to be any earthly good? And they talk about a person that is so uh, focused on God that they aren't any good in the world, in the to other people. And I just think that's really silly. It's like a steak that's too tender, or a vacation that was too good, and a day that's too sunny. It just seems silly. Our life purpose, what God designed us for, is to be in a close relationship with Him. And there's no way that we can get too much of God. In the world today, I've heard the illustration that if you look at it like a meat case in the store, and you've got your choices of what you've only got $100 to spend, and that would represent the time that you have left in your life, in your lifetime, that $100, and in the store you've just got $100 to spend in that meat case, and you can choose between shrimp or steak or pork chops, whatever you desire. And those sections would illustrate the different things that we can do in our life with our time. We only have so much time, just like that person only has $100 to spend. And we can spend our time any way that we want. And always we talk about God not making us like a robot. He wants us to make our own choices. And it works that way with so many things. If you've got a bird and you keep it inside the cage, you really don't have anything, because you know that as soon as you open that cage, the bird's going to leave. But if you leave that cage door open and the bird comes and goes like they please, and comes back to the cage, then you've got something. And it works that way in relationships too. I don't want to get too far off track. But if you just really control that person, your mate, and really restrict their movement or their activities or where they go or what they can do, and you want to just keep them all to yourself, well, as soon as they get the opportunity, they're going to go to someone else or go somewhere else if you keep them locked up like that. But you just have to let them go, because if you got somebody that doesn't want to stay with you, you don't really have anything at all. That person that your mate, if they are free to come and go as they please, and they choose to spend time with you, and they choose to come home, then you've got something. And it's that way in life too. And getting back to that meat case, so we choose what we want to do with our time and our energy and our resources in the world. And there's so many things in the world that are that we enjoy and that are pleasurable, and a lot of good things. But what happens a lot is we spend, 20 of our $100 on entertainment, and 20 on the kids, their soccer games and stuff like that, maybe 20 on education, and 20 on or 40 on our career. And what happens so often is we get all of our money, or that $100, we get that all spent, just like our life. We get our life all spent in areas other than God. And then we've got $5 left over, or just a little bit of our life or our time left over, and that goes to God. We'll say at the end, we'll say, well, yeah, I'll take $5 worth of God. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. That's just the opposite. God designed us to have that personal relationship with Him, and to be with Him all the time, and to give Him our most, give Him our all, and then the things that are left over, we spend on things that need to be done in the world. And it's, if you could think of it as a big square, And the rock, there's a big huge rock right in the middle of it that's taking up almost all of the space. And that's rock, that's God. That rock is God. And the rest is all just sand and gravel. The rest is all things that we can do without, and things that we have to do in this world. But what we're doing right now, Christ gave us his mission to finish. He didn't finish his mission on earth. On earth he went to heaven, and he gave that mission to us. That's what we're doing right now. And if you break it down real simply, we worship God, we fellowship with him, and we work in his field. That's what we're doing right now. That's all we're doing. And everything else that we do is just the sand and the gravel. It's just the things that we need to do to get along in this life until Christ comes to take us home. But the clock is ticking, and we only have so much time left, and none of us knows how much time we have. And the Lord could take us home tonight, or he could take us home in 20 years. But we want to be faithful servants. And so if people in the world think that we are spending too much time with God, they're sadly mistaken. You can't spend too much time or give too much focus or spend too much of the time you have in this world, or your resources or your energy. You can't spend too much on God. There was a fella, a Christian hero, and I can't remember his name, but I think it was back in the 1800s, and he was a politician, and he was known for all of these accomplishments that he made, and he spent 7 to 8 hours a day with God, worshiping him and fellowshipping with him, and the rest, what was left over, he did the politics or his job and his family. And God blessed him so much for that time that he had left over. God wants that relationship with us and that fellowship with him. I'm going to take a look at some verses, and we'll see what God says about these things and what he wants from us, what he desires. In 1 Kings, I'm sorry. In 1 Kings 5:61, I believe it is, let your heart therefore be wholly devoted to the Lord your God, to walk in his statutes and to keep his commandments as at this day. So let your hearts be totally devoted to God, and that's the way that it's supposed to be. And we want to get as close to that as we can in our lives. In 1 Corinthians 7:35 it says, this I say for your own benefit, not to put a restraint upon you, but to promote what is appropriate and to secure undistracted devotion to the Lord. Undistracted devotion. That is what we're supposed to be doing. And we're just babies in respect to time. We're just starting our lives, our eternal lives, and we're going to be with God for eternity. And we want to begin that relationship now and develop it. In Matthew 6:24 it says, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. And I think the Holy Spirit put wealth in there because that's one of the strongest desires that we have in us, is to gain wealth. And then we can get stuff, and we can get prestige and respect from people, and we can be somebody and have our family respect us. Well, those are really the sand and the gravel. Those are the small things. We get it upside down. But God knows what a strong pull that riches are for us. So he compares it to the relationship with him. And you know, we think we can get on that fence. We think that we can do them both. You know, why can't I have a good career and a nice home and devote a lot of time with the kids and stuff, and still love God and be devoted to him? But God is telling us where your heart is, there your treasure is also. That we can't do that. There's just no way that you can give it all to God and invest in the world. 2 Chronicles 16:9. For the eyes of the Lord move to and fro throughout the earth, that he may strongly support those whose heart is completely his. You have acted foolishly, and this indeed from now on you will surely have wars. He's talking to his people. But God looks for that person that's totally devoted to him so he can get behind that person and just bless their socks off. And isn't that what we want to be? Isn't that how we want to live our lives? We want to live our lives pleasing to God. We want to be that good and faithful servant. And we want to be that person that's there. And we've talked about it before. We've got such a debt to God, a debt to Christ for what he did for us. And we want to serve him well. And we want to be in our design, in the place where we're supposed to be. And that's in our relationship with God. And that, I just wanted to encourage you with that and challenge you. We should be living full out for God. And as long as we're in this life. And because heaven's coming pretty soon in eternity. And we just have a certain amount of time left and a certain amount of time and devotion to invest. So I hope that encourages you. I hope it challenges you. It challenges me, and it just reminds me of what I'm doing. I get distracted by so many things in the world, and I need that. There used to be a commercial on TV for men and aftershave, and a guy would be getting ready in the morning, and it was pretty strong stuff. It had a lot of alcohol in it, but it would heal your face after you shaved. And that guy was in the mirror in the morning. He was getting a big amount of that, and he was slapping himself in the face with that men and aftershave. And afterwards, he was awake totally, and he said, "Thanks, I needed that." And we need that in our lives. We need someone to remind us what we're doing, who we are, and whose we are. So I hope that was a good reminder to you. I hope that it impassioned you and fired you up for Christ. And I'll have another video out next week. And if I don't see you before, I'll see you in heaven.